Charles. Today's lesson I'm going to be doing through video, and this week I'll probably be using a lot of video. I think it just works better for me to kind of show you firsthand what we're working on so I can go through everything with you. I'll probably get into some Pear Deck lessons next week as we start our next unit, but just for right now, I wanted to throw a couple of videos out there just to kind of help you out. So today we're going to be talking about just some examples of tsunami alert, or we're going to be looking at some things and kind of making some choices. My goal for you, or your goal, should be to complete the last 10 tests for tsunami alert. Before you do that, I'm going to want you to make some goals, though. I want you to make some goals as to what you think your time should be, what your cost should be, and then also your false alarm, number of false alarms should be. So we'll talk a little bit about those things. One concept to understand before we do this is a concept known as trade-off. Trade-off is basically when you have to give up one thing in order to get another. So we're going to take a look at some of those. I want to just kind of introduce the concept now, and we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow as well, because you're going to be writing about trade-offs. So I want to kind of just refresh your memory. But understanding trade-offs is important for what we're talking about today as well, too, as you go into your second set of tests. But I have some tests here that we're looking at. Some things to kind of, and this is kind of my example of my first test. So this might look similar to what you've maybe tried for your very first test or for your first few tests. And you'll notice a few things. You'll notice that my cost is super high, $155 million, 50-year cost. You'll notice that not all my warnings were received. That's the most important thing. And you notice my average warning time was 20 minutes and 75 seconds, and I had 3 false alarms. So this one maybe not be that great. This is something that I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, what are some things that I can do over here? So I'll go through and I'll look at all the earthquakes. I'll click on each of my sensors, and I'll see which one of those are working, which ones are not working. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to analyze and I'll make some changes. We're going to use that iterative testing to do that cycle where we're going through, we're analyzing what we've done, and we're conducting another test. So I've done another test here. This one test looks better. I have received all my warnings. I only have 1 false alarm, and my average warning time is almost an hour, which is awesome. That's really good. That's really helpful. But I look over here and I can see that my cost is $182 million for a 50-year cost. And that's pretty expensive. I have to be very careful about how much I cost, because the people of Sri Lanka are not all billionaires. And so we have to make sure that this is cost effective for them as well, too. So I may have to use a trade-off in order to get this cost down. I may have to sacrifice either my average warning time or my false alarms. So I'm going to go ahead and try some things. I'll move some things around and we'll see what happens. My goal right now is to try to get my cost down a little bit. So I'm going to try to get my cost down. And look, I got my cost down to a little over $3 million for a 50-year period, which is pretty good. But if you look at this, I didn't do a very good job of getting all the warnings. My average warning time is 0 and my false alarms are 0. So maybe I made too much of a trade-off right there. So that's not going to be very good. That one's not going to work. So I have to toss that one aside. I'm going to try another one and see what happens here. This one looks a little bit better. I've received all of my necessary warnings. My warning time might not have been as high as that other one, but it's still pretty good. 42 minutes is not bad, and I still only have 1 false alarm. So you can see that I made some trade-offs. I may have sacrificed a little bit of time, but because of the cost, because it wasn't really feasible, or my country probably could not afford to spend that over $100 million more for this, to just get a few more minutes. So this might be the system that I choose. Now, your systems might look a little bit different. You might have some different trade-offs that you're going to have to go through. But as you're going through this process, I want you to make sure that you are using trade-offs. You are looking to see what are some things I can maybe sacrifice in order to get the cost down, or what are some things that I can sacrifice to get my average warning time up, or things I can sacrifice to get my false alarms down. That are the things you're going to have to be concerned about. Tomorrow during our lesson, you're going to have to pick one of those to see which one of these is what I want to concentrate on, which is the most important criteria. Is it average warning time, average cost, or the false alarms? And you'll have you'll have to pick one of those in order to defend it. Something before you get into doing your second set of testing, I want you to do this goal sheet. I want you to take a look at your first 10 tests and pick, what do you think is your goal warning time? What do you think your goal false alarms are going to be? And what do you think your goal cost is going to be? Some of you have done a really good job and already have a pretty good design, but you can always make it better through iterative testing. So I want you to continue to test those over and over again. Before you do that, I want you to make some goals for yourself, though. You might make those goals, you might not make those goals. So this is what I want you to kind of concentrate on as you are going through this process. And always keep in mind that you may have to use trade-offs in order to get something that's good for all different areas, the best possible solution within the confines or within the constraints or within the problem that I've given you. All right, so again, for your homework today, I want you to fill out the Tsunami Alert goal sheet. And I also want you to then continue working on the Tsunami Alert iterative testing. That's going to be test number 11 through 20. I'm going to move my face over here a little bit so you can kind of see all of this. So yes, so fill out the Tsunami Alert goal sheet, continue working through the Tsunami Alert iterative tests, and make sure you're completing all of your tests. That's 11 through 20. Tomorrow, we will be going through picking your best solution, and then you're going to have to defend it by talking to me about, is there anything you can possibly do to make it better? Because you can always make things a little bit better. I'm going to want you to take that final solution, and I want you to take that final solution and try to see if you can make it even better just by moving some things slightly around a little bit. And then finally, I'm going to ask you about your trade-offs, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that and more about optimization tomorrow. For now, I'll see you later.